I'm Crystal Chinea, and I work in the film industry, production coordinator, producer and director's assistant. Recently got to second AD, so a lot of the production side. The biggest impact I think that COVID plays into like film sets and episodical shows, basically longer run productions, will be, I think, primarily big on the actors. Just because they're the only ones on set that are going to have very close interactions. There's a lot of camera angles that, to play the intensity, we have to have them closer than normal. So I don't know whether, we're going to have to quarantine the actors, keep them in their hotels, not allow them to go back home over the weekend, or what will have to play into that. And that will actually fall more on SAG and their guidelines for their actors. Besides that, I think it's going to be a battle for production equipment, for film crew, because right now there's a lot of content being written. So you have all the content that was supposed to already be planned for the fall, and that's still happening. But then you have all the content, all the productions that were halted earlier in the spring that are planning on picking up in the fall. And now you have a lot of content being written during this pandemic that is planning to shoot when things open up again. So you're going to have a big battle for studios, production houses, equipment. I think the film industry, film crews, they're just going to be in such high demand. On top of that, people need to keep fighting for their rates. People need to maintain their rates, because now that more is going to have to be spent, whether on PPE, on the CDC personnel, on masks, whatever, there's going to have to be some budget cuts, because now you can't have as much crew, which is difficult because the crew is already set as minimal as possible to protect the budget. And now you're trying to figure out where else you can have a budget cut while still keeping safety on a film set. You would think there's so many grips in electric, we can cut them. There's a specific number of them for a reason. So it's going to be an interesting change getting back in, everyone fighting for their rates. Gosh, so many factors. COVID. As far as when the film industry is going to be opening back up, it's going to be different. It's interesting because I've seen photos of some film sets where it's like top to bottom hazmat suits. I haven't experienced that. Like the sets that I've been on, it's mainly having sanitizer everywhere. Having someone on set to really help enforce guidelines, because we get into a zone, we focus on our jobs, and we forget what they just discussed in the meeting. We all have masks on. I think it'll honestly start opening back up as far as TV shows and longer commercial productions, probably within the next 2 months. I say next 2 months because I think people won't necessarily start planning and getting the green light for shoot dates until maybe next month. The hardest part that I've experienced so far is everyone gets into their job. Everyone gets into their zone. When you're on a film set, we all forget that COVID's still happening. The only thing that, reminds us is the fact that we're all wearing masks. And even then, a lot of people don't know how to wear a mask. So that's where the person to enforce the guidelines, that's where that comes in there, very helpful. Yeah, I think it's going to be slightly different, but unfortunately, I think over time, a lot of those procedures and policies will start falling off unless we were to get a second wave. So I don't know where the film industry is going, because I'm seeing so many extremes. I'm experiencing one extreme.